now present For the Record.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Will Kenneally. It's been more than a decade in the making since the redrawing of the state legislative districts after the 2010 census. Democrats have been looking forward to the opportunity to have different and what they would argue are fair maps in Wisconsin. And we appear poised to have those new maps, whether by the legislature and governor agreeing to draw new lines together or the state Supreme Court weighing in on the matter themselves. Joining us now to break this all down is Ruth Conniff, editor-in-chief of the Wisconsin Examiner. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So it's really interesting. We're at a weird place in Wisconsin where we have Republicans in the legislature and perhaps the Democratic governor agreeing on a piece of legislation as controversial as these maps. How did we get here?
It has really been wild because the fight over what one federal judge described as the worst partisan gerrymander in the country in Wisconsin, where Republicans in a state that's 50-50 politically have been able to seize 2/3 of legislative seats almost, if you combine them, 2/3 supermajority in the Senate and somewhat less than that, but still a huge majority in the Assembly. That battle has gone on, and it's gone through many rounds. The U.S. Supreme Court has weighed in. The Democrats and voting rights advocates were unable to get new maps in the last round after the last census. And so now, with a liberal majority on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, the first act of that new liberal majority was to say, these maps are unconstitutional. And the partisan gerrymander is so bad. And also the districts are broken up in such a weird way where they're non-contiguous. There's little portions of one district that's completely disconnected, from the rest of it. We have to have new maps. And so that set off this, furor. Where we are today is that in order to short circuit the Supreme Court choosing among options that various parties in the lawsuit presented, the Republican-dominated legislature decided to push through the exact proposal that Democratic Governor Tony Evers made. And so they're basically daring him to sign his own maps. And Democrats in the legislature, after this more than a decade of being in this super minority and feeling really distrustful, profoundly distrustful of the other party, don't buy it, and they didn't vote for it. But Republicans voted for it overwhelmingly, with only one Democrat in each chamber. And Evers has said he would sign the maps if they were identical to the maps he proposed, which they are, with the small difference that they're not implemented until November. That could be seized upon as a difference if he didn't want to sign them, if he wanted to veto them. But he's basically indicated that he's planning to sign these maps. And so there's a lot of buzz about what are the Republicans really up to. They can't be giving up power willingly. There must be some plot that involves a strategy where someone will sue and these maps will be overturned. And so a lot of people are telling Evers, don't sign these maps. There are other options before the court that are more favorable to Democrats. The Evers maps are considered extremely fair by analysts, but they maintain a slight Republican majority. After all this time, some Democrats just can't stand that. They feel like the state, which has voted statewide for Democrats repeatedly, should be able to have a Democratic majority in the legislature. And then there's just sort of the suspicion that there's a sneaky strategy by which Robin Vos, the Assembly Speaker, will find a way to get a plaintiff to sue, and then the maps will be invalid.
So you're mentioning that this is kind of a weird spot for Evers, where some Democrats are asking him to veto his own drawn maps. But it sounds like some Democrats might actually be in support of this. What are you hearing from some of these groups that have been pushing for these fair maps?
So I would say members of the Democratic Party are super suspicious about this last-minute rush by the Republicans to join Evers and saying, yeah, we want these fair maps. But the nonpartisan groups, Common Cause, the League of Women Voters, the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, instantly issued press releases after the vote celebrating this outcome and saying, this is great. We are finally going to get rid of gerrymandering in Wisconsin. And I spent a lot of time talking to lawyers in the last couple of days because there is this theory that somehow if Evers signs the maps, the Republicans could find a plaintiff, probably a voter, not a Republican, to go to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. The chief judge there is Diane Sykes, very conservative, former member of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. She would choose a 3-judge panel, and in this, the buzz is that then they would stall, they would delay, and the maps couldn't be implemented in time for the 2024 election. The thing is, though, that can happen whether the Supreme Court chooses the map or whether Evers signs the map. So it's not really the case that Evers signing or vetoing the map changes that strategy, if there is a strategy to sue. I think it's more likely that lawyers sat down with Republicans and said, look, you have a bunch of bad options here. This is the least bad option. Evers' map doesn't favor Democrats the way some of the other options in front of the Supreme Court do. And the other thing I think that's significant that lawyers have said to me, multiple lawyers in the last couple of days, is just that it's very unusual for the state Supreme Court to choose a map. The whole process is really outside the normal process. So if the legislature passes a map and Evers signs it, it's a bipartisan deal and it's the regular route. And so many courts would be really reluctant to touch that. Even, conservative justices don't necessarily want to carry water for the Republican Party in a completely trumped up challenge. In some ways, Evers signing the maps could give us more security that we would maintain those maps.
And so if you were to put money on this, do you have a sense of whether you'd say the governor would sign this or veto this?
Well, he said he would sign it, and I think that he will. The one issue that he could point to, because he said he would sign it a couple of times if it was exactly the map he proposed, and it is exactly the map he proposed. The difference is the date of implementation. So if it doesn't go into effect right away, if there's this recall challenge against Robin Voss, it doesn't happen under a new map, it happens under the old map, that's a constitutional problem because the Supreme Court has said the current map is unconstitutional. So there could be an appeal to the Supreme Court to change that. The Wisconsin Elections Commission could ask for guidance and could decide whether they can really maintain an unconstitutional map for these spring elections and then start in November. So that's kind of the one hiccup that I think some people hope the governor will grab onto to say, no, let's go for broke. Let's have the Supreme Court impose a different map. But I don't think he will. I think that he's likely to sign it.
Well, we'll have to see coming up this Tuesday or perhaps sooner. We're recording this on Friday, so we will have to see. Ruth Conniff, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, when we come back, Wisconsin Republicans are facing a major retirement this fall as Green Bay area Congressman Mike Gallagher announces that he will not seek re-election. We sit down with his predecessor, Reid Ribble, when we come back.
This portion of News 3 Now is sponsored by Madison Gas and Electric.
MG&E, building your community energy company for the future through the power of working together. Committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Visit MGE2050.com.
It's here, Wisconsin's newest and most exclusive sports show. Wisconsin Huddle. It's more than just highlights. It's more than X's and O's. It's a dynamic 30-minute weekly special produced for the die-hard fans of Wisconsin athletics. Embark on an exclusive journey into the lives of some of UW's top athletes as we offer an inside look into their world. Watch Wisconsin Huddle Friday nights at 6:30. Brought to you by Ho-Chunk Gaming Madison.
Gruber Law Offices, Gruber Law Offices, Gruber Law Offices.
For over 35 years, Gruber Law Offices has had one goal: to provide top-notch legal services.
One call, one call, one call,
One call, that's all.
Now is the best time to buy new Champion windows, because when you buy two, you get two free.
Hurry, Champion's Buy Two, Get Two free sale is for a limited time.
That's a great deal. Thanks.
Call 888-4CHAMPION or schedule your free in-home estimate online today.
They are some of the hottest videos on social media. Those videos claiming to instantly get rid of bags under your eyes. Annette Figueroa is here to tell us why she says this one is for real.
This one is for real. And what it does is it tightens and lifts the appearance of bags underneath your eyes. And not only does it work on the bags, it works on the appearance of crow's feet, fine lines, and wrinkles.
Try it for only $14.95 this Valentine's Day. Visit plexidermtrial.com or call the number on your screen.
MG&E, building your community energy company for the future through the power of working together. Committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Visit MGE2050.com.
Welcome back. This past week saw a notable departure from Wisconsin's congressional delegation. Green Bay area Republican Mike Gallagher announced that he would not seek re-election this fall, leaving a critical open seat for Wisconsin Republicans to fill in that deep red district. Joining us now to help understand where this is headed is Gallagher's predecessor, Congressman Reid Ribble. Thanks so much for sitting down with us.
It's great to be with you. Thanks, Will.
So for people down here in Madison who might not have a good sense of what the 8th Congressional District is like, how would you describe it?
Well, it's changed. I mean, it is clearly shifted a bit to the right, like a lot of rural areas in Wisconsin. You've got Democrat strongholds in the cities of Appleton and Green Bay. and some up in Door County, Wisconsin. But everything else is very rural, so it's a pretty bright red district. I think President Trump won it by double digits last election, and so it's a pretty red, it's pretty Republican place.
And so the retiring representative right now, Mike Gallagher, what kind of politician was he?
He was a really good one. I was very proud of Mike Gallagher and his work. He's a very pragmatic guy. He's a very likable man. And even if you come at him with opposing views, whether from the right or the left, he was always willing to engage and try to find some common ground, both with constituents and with colleagues in Washington. And a very, very impressive, very impressive guy.
So I've also heard anecdotally that he's been considered kind of a rising star in Republican politics, a possible contender to face Baldwin, although he passed on that, maybe a possible gubernatorial candidate for Republicans. What do you think the future for him will be?
You know, I think just from my personal relationship with Mike, and I consider him a good friend of mine, Mike has a real interest in foreign affairs, international policy. It's what his PhD is in. And I think he wants to engage in that space in government. So it wouldn't surprise me if he became a contractor for the Department of Defense or work at NSA or something like that, someplace where he can use his intelligence bona fides to help the country in that regard. He may come back and run for something at some point. He's a young guy. He's only 40 years old. And so, but I think with young kids, he's looking for a more stable calendar and schedule that you don't get if you're an elected official.
You can certainly understand that. Question now, kind of moving forward as we look to who might replace him. We've heard a couple of names kind of drop their hat maybe in the ring a little bit. Do you have a sense of who might hop in or who might be a good candidate to replace him?
Well, certainly, former Senator Roger Roth has already announced that he's going to run in the primary to try to become the nominee for that position. A totally capable candidate, totally capable as a Wisconsin senator. He knows the process. He was both in the Wisconsin Assembly and in the Wisconsin State Senate, so he knows how government works. He certainly would be a strong candidate there. It wouldn't surprise me if Senator Jacques jumps in the race. I've been called. I can't disclose who they are, but 2 or 3 local business leaders have called me to talk to me about how I was able to navigate it without political experience. And so I would anticipate a primary with maybe 3 to 5 Republicans running for it. But I also think in an open seat, this will also inspire some Democrats to get in that otherwise might not have looked at it. Nobody was really going to take on Gallagher. He was unbeatable up there. And so, but now with the open seat, there's an opportunity for a Democrat, particularly if Wisconsin primary voters up there in the 8th pick a very hard, mega type of candidate that's just fully kind of in bed with Trump. I think that could open up a pathway for a Democrat to run a very competitive race.
Is this the kind of race that you would endorse a candidate in?
I don't know that my endorsement does much good. It might actually hurt some people. And so if a particular candidate called and asked for my endorsement, I certainly would be willing to talk it through with them. I probably would be unwilling to endorse somebody if they would say, I would vote for Donald Trump even if he's convicted. That's a red line for me. I'm not going to support anybody who would support a felon, you know. So, but we'll wait and see what the field looks like.
Now, there's another open seat that we've been kind of looking at to see what Republican might run in it. That's the Republican challenger for Tammy Baldwin this time around. What would be kind of the better gig or the better race for a Republican kind of mulling these runs? Would it be an easier time running in the 8th Congressional District versus running against Baldwin for U.S. Senate?
Oh, way easier. It's almost impossible to take out an incumbent. I mean, it can be done. Ron Johnson defeated Russ Feingold, but that is super rare. I mean, super rare. And so it would be way easier to win a congressional seat in an open race than to try to take on an established incumbent. And Tammy Baldwin, whether you agree with her policies or not, She's well liked around the state. She's well liked up in Green Bay. She works hard for Wisconsin, and she would be a very, very formidable candidate for any Republican to take on in a state like Wisconsin, which truly is statewide. It's a purple state, and so that would be a tough race. It can be won depending on what happens at the top of the ticket. I'll tell you right now, if Nikki Haley was at the top of the ticket in the fall instead of Donald Trump, Tammy Baldwin would be beatable because Nikki Haley would win Wisconsin big. Donald Trump might win Wisconsin, if he does even win it at all, by just a few thousand votes. So there's not going to be any pull through with Trump to help any of these congressional seats.
Interesting, fascinating insight. Congressman Ribble, thanks so much.
Hey, it's good to be with you, Will. Thank you.
When we come back, we share more from our sit-down with the interim MMSD Superintendent Lisa Kvistad, talking about the district's teacher shortage and how Madison students are making up the educational deficits after the pandemic. We'll be right back after this.
Teeth are amazing. That's why at Affordable Dentures and Implants, we have new financing options to help you get a new smile today, not someday. Scan the QR code or call to learn more.
Go ahead and smile.
Crack the science of stronger hair. Fructis. With keratin, protein, or biotin in reloaded systems. Up to 72 hours frizz control, 48 hours definition, or 72 hours thicker looking hair. Fructis by Garnier, naturally.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my community and those I care about safe from threats. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time close to home by visiting nationalguard.com.
Come on, Michael, come on. Catch the ball! Huddle up! Do you need to get your eyes checked? Well, actually, here's the play. Stanton Optical makes glasses in 30 minutes. It's easy on 3. 1, 2, 3. Easy! Hut! Come on, Michael, you got this! Come on, turn! Michael, catch! I can see! You did it! I did it! 30-minute glasses? Now that's an easy play. Stanton Optical. Easy's our thing.
This is the Ergo Smart Base from Tempur-Pedic, and it responds to snoring, so you don't have to. So no more nudging your partner or sleeping on the other side of the house, because the Tempur Ergo Smart Base actually detects snoring, then automatically adjusts to help reduce it all night, every night.
Save up to $500 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable mattress sets and get a $300 gift. Denver Mattress, the easiest way to get the right Tempur-Pedic.
At Affordable Dentures and Implants, our Snap Secure dental implants will help you eat and speak with confidence at a price that's affordable. So if you think you can't afford dental implants, think again.
Go ahead and smile.
Welcome back. We continue this morning with more from our sit-down with the interim MMSD Superintendent Lisa Kvistad. Now, it's been about 6 months since we last sat down with her, and the district faced a teacher shortage during that time. Now, how has the district managed since then? We pick up our conversation there. Now, it's only been 6 months, but have you seen any progress? You have a sense of what the future will look like on that staffing issue?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the district has made great progress in that area. First of all, I'm really proud to say our Human Resources Department is staffed up. We have people in positions, and we're working through systems and structures to get new hires through the process and in place as efficiently as possible. So one of the pieces that we really tried to focus in on this year was also about really supporting hiring managers, principals and internal hiring managers with the tools and resources that they needed to get the best people in classrooms as possible. The Board of Education made a significant investment in staff salaries as a strategy to attract and retain teachers to the school district. And I commend our school district for making that investment and sending a clear message to our teachers and our community that teachers matter, and we want to keep teachers here in the city of Madison. So that move that the district made, I think was really important as a signal of confidence and just real trust in our teaching staff. So we are nowhere near the point that the district was at a couple of years ago during pandemic and then just post-pandemic when those vacancies and shortages were very sharply felt. We are in a much better place now, not perfect, but a much better place. We currently are engaging in the staffing process for 24-25. So I just left a meeting this morning to finalize school staffing levels, looking at enrollments. It's really important right now that we get schools staffed up and ready for 24-25. We don't want to chase after vacancies, we want to get after them early. So that process will get underway for 24-25 in the next month here. So we've been really actively talking to principals about what it is they think they need to be successful with learners in their school. So I feel really good and the team feels really good about, first and foremost, we've got to get schools set up for success for next year, and we're well on the way towards doing that.
And just overall, is the district still recovering from the pandemic? How is kind of catching up from that deficit of learning looking like?
So we are definitely still thinking about the strategies that we've put in place with the help of the ESSER funds, right, that came through all the federal money during COVID. We are really working as we build this budget out for this year about what strategies and supports we need to still have in place for students moving forward who are still making up for some of those opportunity gaps. We know that the students that were most impacted by that pandemic were students for whom English was not their first language, students with disabilities. So we're taking a really close look at what are those targeted strategies that we want to continue to use moving forward post-pandemic to help really bridge some of those opportunity gaps that currently exist. So I think that as we build out this budget, the community and the school board can expect to have some of those conversations around what are we going to still continue to do. What do we feel like we want to sort of sunset as the ESSER funding has ended for us? And what positions do we want to continue to be committed to as part of the work? We are committed, as I said earlier, to continually focus on literacy and students reading, particularly those earliest years. We continue to be committed to strengthening full-day 4K practices. So I am hopeful that those conversations will continue to be had with the board and with the community as we seek public input on that budget as well over the next couple of months.
And what will be next for you?
Next for me, so immediately, there is still work to do in the next 5 months. And we still have children coming. We still have work to do around leading the district in day-to-day operations. And I continue to be honored to partner with the board and with the team in Madison to do that. So I remain really focused in a very steadfast way around that. And then I'm thinking about how to best, as our new superintendent comes on, how to best allow for that superintendent to come in and be day one ready, and to also learn about the district in some way. I would anticipate there'll be a very intentional transition, as I had when I came in, because this is an incredible opportunity for this school district. You know, for boards of education to hire a new superintendent, sometimes that can be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So it's really important that over the next couple weeks, the board has provided that space and the community to help that to happen. So I'm going to continue to keep the day-to-day work going, and at the same time think about what are the really important pieces that I know the next superintendent will need a transition process through, and then they will lead that through with their own leadership style in the next couple of months. So it's an exciting time for the community to both finish up this year, right? We want our kids to finish this semester strong. We've got kids that are looking forward to graduation. We've got kids that are looking forward to going to middle school, leaving elementary school, and I want to be sure that's the best that it can be for our little ones and for our graduates. So it's both the short-term immediate, make it the best year it can be yet, and helping to plan for the next leader.
We'll be right back after this.